Hello friend, welcome back to my kitchen. My name's Kimberly. Today I'm going to be making my enchilada sauce, which I just love. I've made a video on this before, but I've had requests to make another one where I show how I actually use the sauce and make my enchiladas, so that's what I'm doing today. I have these beautiful red ripe tomatoes from my garden, and I'm excited to use them in my enchilada sauce. I also have some red onions that I've grown and some jalapenos. I've purchased these red bell peppers. I don't currently have any of those, and also some garlic. And so the first step is to get the vegetables roasting. So I'm going to give these a quick wash and get them chopped up and get them in the oven. I'm really excited to have Roma tomatoes, or, well, I don't know if they're actually Romas, but the type of Italian paste tomato growing in my greenhouse. I've finally had success with that here in Ecuador. I'm just removing the cores and giving these a rough chop, and I'm going to get them here in a pan, in a roasting pan. So we've really had a challenge here lately trying to film our videos. Why? Well, Ecuador is experiencing a drought. And because Ecuador depends mostly on hydroelectric power, we've been having rolling blackouts throughout the country. So we're getting more and more adept at thinking ahead of, when's the next power outage and what do we need to do to be prepared for it? Isn't this beautiful? So I'm not going to be able to fit all of these tomatoes or peppers in here, but that's okay. I usually will fill my roasting pan. Now, if you like roasted garlic, you could certainly add this in here and roast it first and then just squeeze it out. What I've seen done is people will cut the top off, but I prefer my garlic unroasted, so I'll just wait and peel it and add it later when I'm pureeing this. With my jalapenos, I'm never sure how much I'm actually going to add to the sauce because I don't know how hot they're going to be. If I was slicing more jalapenos, I would wear gloves, but I'm just gingerly taking the tops off of them and cutting them in half. I'm going to roast all three of these, and then when I go to make my sauce, I'll just add maybe half at a time and taste it, and if I think I can tolerate more heat, I'll add a little more and go from there. Okay, I've got all my vegetables in here. I'm going to drizzle this in a little bit of olive oil. And you could sprinkle it with salt and pepper. Sometimes I do that, but what I want to do today is add some of this Montreal steak seasoning. I really enjoy the flavor this gives. And I've got my oven preheated to about 400 degrees, and I'm just going to pop this in the oven. Now this will roast for probably about 45 minutes. I'll check it and wait till the vegetables have a nice little bit of a char on top and they're nice and tender, and then I'll take it out. While the vegetables are roasting in the oven, I'm toasting pumpkin seeds in a dry pan to release their natural oils and deepen their nutty flavor. This extra step brings out the richer taste that blends beautifully into the sauce. Pumpkin seeds are packed with protein, healthy fats, and important nutrients like magnesium and zinc, so they not only add flavor but also give the dish a nutritious boost. Now that our vegetables are all roasted and they've cooled a little bit, we need to blend it up to make our enchilada sauce. So thankfully, I've got my trusty Vitamix, does a really good job of that. And I'm going to use this slotted spoon to pull out my vegetables and leave behind most of this liquid. Now I might add some of this liquid later. And I also want to, while I'm doing this, I want to pick out those jalapenos because I'm not sure that I'll be using all of them. I might, but I don't want to get it too hot. So I've taken out about half of them. I'm sure I'll want to use some of it. I've seen recipes for enchilada sauce online that mostly use chicken broth and powdered spices. And I suppose that's one way of doing it. But for myself, as a vegetarian and an avid gardener, I like to make my enchilada sauce with as many vegetables as possible. Now to this, I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds that I just toasted in a dry pan and some fresh garlic. And I like a lot of garlic. I'll start with a heaping spoonful of salt, and then I'm going to add cumin, coriander, chili powder. This is the principal spice. So I'm probably going to add at least 2 tablespoons of that. And then I have some smoked paprika. I'm going to scrape this down because I think a lot of my powdered spices are just stuck near the top. Okay, let's give this a taste. So I would say we can definitely use more jalapeno. It's not very hot at all. I think I'm going to go ahead and use all of this. And I don't think I'll be adding this extra liquid. It has a nice consistency. If I thought it was too thick, I could thin it out with that. But I'll enjoy just drinking this, or you could add it to a soup or whatever. Yes, I really like that. This is a nice thick sauce now, full of vegetables. And this is what I like to use for my enchilada sauce. With the sauce already made, I'm ready to start assembling the enchiladas. I'm going to make 2 versions, one with meat and one without. So the first thing I want to do is start frying up some ground beef. If you hear little chicks peeping, it's pretty amazing. I've got chicks hatching today in the incubator, in spite of the fact that we've been having regular power outages up to 10 hours a day. So I'm really delighted about that. So I'm going to break this up just a little bit and then leave it to cook. So I have some of my homegrown, home-canned beans here, black beans, and then something similar to a pinto bean. I'm going to get these drained and rinsed, and I've got a can of corn. Now I'm going to dice my zucchini. I'm not sure that I'll use all of this, but I'll use at least one of them. I'm just going to cut these into about 1/4 inch slices. Next, I get to use one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment. This alligator chopper I got off of Amazon. It makes quick work out of getting a nice uniform dice on my zucchini. If I had yellow zucchini in the garden right now, I would use that too because I like the contrast of color of using both the yellow and the green, but I've only got the green right now, so this is fine. And just like that, I've got my nice dices. So with my black beans, I'm going to add my corn and the zucchini. Give that a good mix. So this will be the filling for my vegetarian enchiladas. Let me check on the meat now. Next, I'm going to add some of this sauce to the filling. Okay, that looks good. So I've got the meat turned off. It's cooked enough, but I'm going to go ahead and assemble the vegetarian enchiladas first. So for these, I like to use corn tortillas. And because the corn tortillas are kind of stiff and small, I don't bother rolling these like a traditional enchilada. I just like to layer it more like a lasagna. So I've got my casserole pan, and I'm going to start with some enchilada sauce in the bottom. And I'll start with a layer of my tortillas. Something like that. I'm going to add some of my filling. Next, I'm going to layer on some cheddar cheese. Now some more of these tortillas. And I'll give that some nice sauce. A little more cheese. And a final layer of tortillas on top. I want to fully cover this top layer of tortillas so they won't burn while we're baking. So just cover them in some sauce, top it with some more cheese. Now my earlier layers of cheese were pretty light, but on top I can go a little heavier. Okay, the first one's done. So now I'm going to set this one aside, and we can start working on the one with meat. So I have here the red beans. Okay, so I've got the meat and the beans, and to that I'm going to add some of the sauce to make the filling. Get that mixed up. More sauce in there. So starting with another baking dish, I'm going to put a layer of sauce on the bottom. For these, I'm going to use flour tortillas. Okay. So I'll add a little bit of the filling mixture to each tortilla and then roll it up and add it to the baking dish. See if I can show that a little bit better. Now when I make these with my husband in mind, he loves the meat, but doesn't appreciate the beans. So he usually requests that I make this with meat and rice for the filling. So it's very customizable. I've never done it before, but I'm sure you could also use chicken. I just like to put the seam side down to help hold it closed. My goal is always to try to make this work out even to where I have enough filling to fill all of my tortillas. Now, if you do have a little bit of extra filling left over once you're done filling all your tortillas, you can just put that on the top or along the side and just bake it up together. Okay, doesn't that look great? So next we want to top it with some more of this flavorful enchilada sauce. Just spread that around to cover those tortillas again so they won't burn in the oven. But I'll put a nice layer of cheese on top because he really likes it. So the next step is to pop these in the oven. Here, let me show you both of them. So I haven't preheated my oven yet, but I'm going to get my oven preheated and put these in the oven. They'll bake about 30 minutes until they're heated through nice and bubbly and the cheese has melted. And you can also put them under the broiler for a few minutes if you like that nice crust on the top of your cheese. This turned out absolutely delicious and we thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you'll give this recipe a try and see for yourself. Thanks for joining me. Bye, friend.